My name is Abby Baker, and I am 34, and I have two beautiful children, Brielle and Callista, 7 and 4. Callista will be 5 tomorrow. Nate and I have been married for 18, well, no, I'm sorry, married for 10 years, but together for 18, so it feels like we've been married for 18 years. Nate is a foreman in construction, so he works very hard. I was a legal assistant, and I stopped working last year to spend more time with the family and really kind of enjoy life. My dad, who is my stepdad but has always been my father, he was diagnosed with kidney cancer in 2015, February of 2015, and he passed away shortly after. When he passed away, it was the end of July of 2015. Then I realized in 2016, the beginning of the year, that something wasn't quite right. It would only be when I would be exercising that I would start to have these memory flashbacks, and I would have what they refer to as auras. I kept going to doctors, not only for that reason, but because I was constantly sick. I was just the sick girl at work, but I also then was always told at the doctors that it was because I had Brielle was 3 and Callista was 1 by then. So they were babies, and so it was just part of the deal. But something wasn't right. I went to Google, and I realized that everything seemed pretty similar to a brain tumor. But again, every doctor told me they were 99.9% sure. That was the quote every time. This went on until December, an entire year of finally they approved me seeing a doctor, specifically the neuro doctor, and even she quoted the 99.9% positive, but to give me some comfort, she would get me an MRI. So at the end of the day, on a Friday, I had an MRI, and they wouldn't have the results until that Monday morning. Now, we started going to Fish Hawk Fellowship that Sunday. We immediately loved it, and the next day, I went to work, and at 9:01 a.m., I received a call from the doctor saying that they needed me to come in right away. I got to Rose Radiology. I got my results, the big old pattern of everything, and I pulled out the first frame, and I saw a large tumor on the left side of my brain. And I just started crying, because I knew the whole time, a whole year, that it was a tumor. And I just couldn't get anybody to listen to me. On February 20th of 2017, I had the surgery. They told me I would be home within 24 hours, and that then they would take it from there and see what the pathology report would read. But I wasn't able to speak. I wasn't able to see out of my right eye. I was terrified. I mean, just not being able to speak, my memory, everything was jumbled. I only knew Nate's name. Brielle and Callista's names, I knew. I had a 4 and a 2-year-old, and I couldn't say their names. It was horrific. By the time I slowly started talking, I was at a 4-year-old's level of being able to have a conversation. After my pathology report, it went from a grade 2 to they diagnosed it as a grade 3 anaplastic astrocytoma. And that brought me down deeper, because then it was, okay, we need chemo, we need radiation, and I'm going to do the chemo, but I'm gonna hold my faith, and I'm gonna stay strong, and I'm going to fight, and everything will be okay. And everything started to be okay. The speech, I started working. I was able to then slowly able to drive. My vision slowly came back. I wasn't 4 years old anymore. I was becoming a big girl. I went back, like I said, I went back to work. There were so many blessings, and I figured, this is okay. I listened to God. My faith just has grown stronger and stronger. I continue to grow my faith. At the beginning of this year, I started experiencing more auras, which auras are partial seizures, and I knew something wasn't right, and I asked for an early MRI, and the MRI showed that there was a growth, that there definitely was a regrowth, but it was very slight. And so they asked me if I wanted to do chemo and kind of put a hold on things, or if I just wanted to, again, just wait, watch and wait for 2 more months. So I chose to watch and wait. I know I've seen miracles happen. I believe in the miracles, and my heart just immediately told me that it can be okay. I waited, lived life for the next 2 months, and then I went to this last appointment at the in the middle of June, and the tumor was quite large. The tumor is now like the entire left temporal lobe. I try not to think of what other people's what happened to other people because of their cancer, and I try to think that this is my story, and understand that my faith is fully involved, and that my mission is to help other people, and for other people to see that there is a way, and that turning to God and knowing that there are miracles, and believing, having strength, letting your children know that God is bigger. I know after this diagnosis that God is real. God is much more powerful than I ever imagined. God has a plan, and it may not always be the plan that we want to see, but there's a reason for it. And it may not always be a beautiful plan, but it could be years from after when you realize and see that that's it. That was the reason. I surely don't want to pass away and not see my daughters grow up. But God's plan could be anything after this, and if it has to be me, and then building on Brielle or Callista being a head pastor or a doctor who then saves millions of people's lives, well, then it was all worth it. God has lifted me in more ways, and that's why I'll never forget one of the sermons where the pastor had explained how you can either go the south way or you can lift up, and it's not always going to be easy. I take every day, hour by hour, minute by minute, and it does not make my days easy, but I stop myself, and that's where I found the meditation and the breathing and the prayers. For me, this second surgery, that is a possibility, that God is challenging me, and God has something else that I may not have heard. So I've struggled with the fear of not seeing Brielle and Callista again. And what I'm realizing is that it's all out of my control, and that it all is in God's hands, and that no matter what I do, I can work on what I'm hearing from God, what He wants me to do, but at the end of the day, His plan is already set into motion. I'm grateful for this cancer. I've told hundreds of people that. People felt sorry for me, and there's no need to feel sorry for me, because I am very grateful for having gone through this cancer. It changed me in more ways than possible. I'm going to be going to heaven. My daughters are going to be able to look down at me if I am gone, and they're going to be able to be proud of me and hopefully learn to be strong. Cancer doesn't have to be a terrible thing. I certainly don't want it, but I would not take this away. If you were to then take me back 2 years and say, listen, do you want cancer or don't you? I would say, let's do it, because it changed me for the better. It's taught me to be grateful, thankful for each day, for each moment, for each breath. It's
taught me to be understanding how blessed I am and how strong God is.